There is a case that we're going to cover today. Patrick Ho, China Energy Fund Committee. Unlike even Ban Ki-moon, who had two relatives indicted for using the UN's name to make money. Unlike Ban Ki-moon, Antonio Guterres didn't even order an audit after it came out that Patrick Ho and Sheikh Gadio and Patrick Ho, but let's focus on Patrick Ho, okay? Patrick Ho has been spending time in the MCC. He was unable to email even his wife for 10 days. Today, he'll find out if he gets now these guys might, there's, one of the co-defendants is Sheikh Gadio, the former foreign minister of Senegal. But today is all about Patrick Ho. He's trying to pledge the homes of his relatives in Hong Kong. He's tried to get some things dismissed because he gave the password to his iPad. But he did it voluntarily. And in any event, the prosecution says they've got the emails to show that he bribed the President of the General Assembly. Now, you'd expect there to be a mad dash of UN journalists interested in covering UN corruption down here. Well, not so much. Not so much. Intercity Press has come. Intercity Press, which was thrown in the street for covering bribery case number 1, is back for more. Bribery case number 2. Patrick Ho. So what we'll do is we're not going to be able to take the camera into the courtroom. But at the end of today's hearing, some have asked whether Patrick Ho might himself come straight out of these doors, triumphant in his loose black clothing. But I think not. I think Patrick Ho, even if he wins today, will have to rent himself an apartment. He's got the money. He's got a Chinese-based energy company behind him, and it's all about the Belt and Road. We're going in. To be continued. Okay, we're here outside the courthouse. Patrick Ho was just denied bail after a lengthy ruling by the judge. In the course of the arguments leading to the denial, the prosecution said, and correctly so, that the case involves multiple people at the United Nations. The prosecution said that multiple institutions have been corrupted, including the United Nations, as an argument for why Patrick Ho should be denied bail. The argument was that 2 homes were being put up in Hong Kong as collateral, that Patrick Ho, in monitored emails from the MCC, said he wanted to stay and fight, but the court said, wait a second, the Chinese energy company, and she didn't say it, but I will, that's the CEFC, China Energy, aka China Energy Fund Committee, that they're paying Patrick Ho's legal fees, and that their interest may not simply be to provide him with a legal defense, but to put the issue to bed. She went through in her ruling the quid pro quo, and these were described as emails between Patrick Ho and the wife of Sam Kutesa, the President of the General Assembly, saying we'll send $500,000 to the foundation of Kutesa in exchange for unlimited opportunities in Uganda in the fields of telecommunications, banking, oil. Same thing with Chad. The defense, somewhat wanly, tried to say that part of the payments to Debbie were to pay for his inauguration. Isn't that just the same as Trump? Well, I don't know. All I can say is that bail was denied. Patrick Ho will be held over, and the case goes forward. Now, the interesting part is that the UN has been described in court, federal court, for now, in at least the second case since I've been covering it, as having been corrupted. And yet, the UN had nobody in the courtroom today. The UN's response to the Ng Lap Seng case was to charge for legal fees, or to be awarded legal fees. And in this case, they haven't even ordered an audit of how China Energy Fund Committee bought its way into the UN. China Energy Fund Committee remains in special consultative status with ECOSOC. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, has done even less on this corruption than Ban Ki-moon did. And it's a shocking display of an already debased UN has become even more corrupted. Now, we may go to the front to see whether we can catch the lawyers, Mr. Levander et al., for Patrick Ho coming out of the court case. The UN has been corrupted. It's not me saying it. This is not Intercity Press, who, for reporting just that in the first case, was thrown out of the UN, laptop smashed on the ground, remains restricted. It was said in court, courtroom 23B, here at 500 Pearl Street, the UN was exposed as a place of corruption, a place to be bought and sold for $500,000. And yet, the UN's lawyers, maybe they're just sitting counting their fees. They're just going to charge more money. They're just going to take more special consultations. Here's the question. Even if you stripped away all of the crimes and you just took at face value the court's decision of Patrick Ho as an international businessman buying oil favors throughout the world, why was this entity considered an NGO at the UN? Why was this considered part of the Sustainable Development Goals when it's nothing but corruption? Well, the UN has been corrupted, and all they can do is charge for their legal fees. To be continued. Okay, we're back at the UN. We've come from the courthouse where Patrick Ho, who bribed the United Nations, yes, through the China Energy Fund Committee, he bribed the President of the General Assembly to the tune of $500,000 for oil contracts in Uganda. The PGA was the foreign minister of Uganda, then as now. So the court saw it. In court, it was said the UN, many institutions, a number of institutions were corrupted, including the United Nations. Many people were involved, including in the United Nations. And so the court knows that the UN is corrupt. But the UN doesn't admit it. They didn't send anyone to the trial. And if the past is any guide from the Ng Lap Seng case, they'll charge money. They'll get bribed more. Maybe we could have a third UN bribery case. It's a shocking display. Now, Intercity Press has come from downtown here to 45th Street and 1st Avenue. We're going to go in through the tourist entrance. Our computer's inside. Can't take a computer to court, nor the Periscope phone into the courtroom. We'll be writing our article, but of course we can only, the curfew is 7 p.m. It's now 6 p.m. Be looking online for the courthouse report. No one from the UN press corps went. No one from the UN went and saw the UN being shown as corrupted in federal court, Southern District of New York. Patrick Ho, China Energy Fund Committee. Disgusting. The UN censors for corruption. Intercity Press, the only journalist covering this from the UN, was the journalist thrown out of the UN for covering the Ng Lap Seng case and remains restricted through the tourist entrance with minders. 2 years later, the UN is absolutely corrupt. Okay, we're back in. Here we are. The UN being what it is, it's almost an empty place. It was PGA demanded bags of cash, so too Sam Kutesa. Bags of cash. Also wire transfers. That's what got them into trouble. They should have stuck with the bags of cash. John Nash demanded bags of cash. The UN has been entirely corrupted and nothing has been cleaned up. Nothing. Antonio Guterres hasn't even audited the Patrick Ho case. Really shocking. Maybe if he could stop flying around first class, he could think about it, but it's easier to just throw journalists in the street. Shocking. Yes, it was. Bags of cash. We can no longer go and cover in front of the PGA's office. We have to get a minder. Others can. They choose not to. There was a court case today. Open courtroom. Nobody from here went to cover it. No. Too busy sleeping. Let's see if the council is still going. It looks like it is. We're going to end as we began. Here. In this place. Writing these articles. To be continued. That's the Free UN Coalition for Access.